Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton, Geoffrey, and Adam Ross here as usual, and all of our faithful buddies who like to hang out on Tuesdays. What's up, Adam?
I don't.
It's a microphone. It helps if you talk into it, like right here. Put your mic in
Yeah, I
front of
know.
your
I
mouth.
know.
Figure
I'm
after
hearing you on
25 years.
delay. I thought I had the video pause, and I'm watching your face, and I'm hearing music. I'm like, what an amateur! Why is he talking over the music? Like you just don't. And then I realized, okay, shit. I
That you're
have
the
things all
amateur.
cattywampus. I am totally the amateur, and the trouble is, I have so far to reach because I destroyed the mouse to my computer, so I have to use the mouse pad, and it's way over there. Like I have to really get after it. But other than that, I'm good. My anxiety has flared up, but it's that week, man. It's the third week of January. It's that time of year when that sort of stuff happens. Um, Other than that, I'm
Yeah.
perfect.
So first off, I see T Max calling me like he would know. So he's either oblivious to the fact it's Tuesday at 8 o'clock, or trying to bust my balls here live on the air. But I'm not taking it. Let's talk about you. You were under the weather last week. So was I. Had like a stomach bug. I had negative COVID cold, that old fashioned thing, and I'm feeling better. I'm still a bit stuffy in the nose, but does your boss know that you're into racing and that it was the Chili Bowl week and that there was racing from like 10 o'clock every day on the week that you just happen to have a stomach bug?
Everybody I
Because that's
work with is racers. So people who work in and around Cal Tire, Jonathan Ayrton, Jared Bodner, Rob Twitchett, Clinton Nichols used to work there. Like the list goes, Roger Lazan, when everyone has fairly close ties to racing. And it was convenient in that sense. But man, I was too sick to sit on my ass and do our weekly show, Clinton.
yeah.
That's now I was here typing away, but yeah, I felt bad, man. Now Devin and Sarah, my son and his girlfriend, they got COVID. I tested negative, but had different stuff going on. But they got pretty sick.
Yeah, we had Stephen Ovens filling with us last week, and just for a couple of housekeeping things, we're going to talk a little about the Chili Bowl. Chaz is going to join us back because he was there live to talk about what his thoughts were. We'll talk about the difference between the flow and the map broadcast, the big delay. There's lots of things on our list. We have a big fat list to talk about today. We're also going to bring Terry Vince on later in the show to talk about things about Humberstone, a little bit about the driving school, and something you brought up, Adam. I shared a few things. I see Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, Delaware Speedway, Asadash Weekend, Humberstone have all raised payouts in support divisions this year, and that's not something you normally see. And your question was, well, why would you do that? And that's a great question, because if you got good fields, why would you jack up the payout? I exactly said that to Terry. I said, Adam asked me why, and I didn't have a damn good answer for him. And he said, well, let's come on Tuesday and let's explain it. So I
Yeah.
said, Terry, come on, let's talk about it. So he'll be joining us in about 45 minutes to talk about that. Chaz should be here in about 5 minutes to talk about the Chili Bowl. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about, we'd love to hear from you on both the Facebook or on the YouTube chat. I got the Facebook open, and it's actually doing closed captioning, and that's comical if you just want to shut off the sound and watch how it makes sense of what we're trying to talk about. But a little bit of shout out on my end, Adam. In my neck of the woods, we got pounded here in Niagara. My street, going on 36, 30, 48 hours, 40 hours or so later now, we're still plowed in, or still snowed in on my street. I tried to move my big truck. I couldn't even move 2 feet. It's we've got about waist deep snow at the end of my street right now. I can't get in or out, and the plows haven't made it yet. So I've been plowed in. So of course I'm thinking, well, I got 3 driveways to deal with. I got an elderly neighbor across the street, and I got 2 driveways here we're dealing with. So I got to get a snowblower. So I started going on Facebook Marketplace. I saw Sarah Rutherford had one for sale. So I said, hey, if you can deliver it, I'll buy it right now, because I can't even get off my street to go get it. So Sarah and Robbie showed up, and Robbie from the Ushweek Campground Robbie was there, and great to see him. I hooked him up with a couple of G-Force Tukes for the ride down. But I just want to say thanks to Sarah and Robbie, and my neighbors appreciate you guys helping us out now and selling me that snowblower, because now I've taken care of all the street, and I'm never in everybody's good graces except my asshole neighbor on the side. He can suck it. But
Exactly. Everyone's got
that's
some of them.
everybody's got one of them. Maybe he
We're
watches the
pretty we're
show
pretty
and
lucky.
yeah.
Well,
Um
speaking of which, should I tell that part of the story? So we were locked down last week, and I left the house 2 times. Both times were to go to Lowe's. So we got a little bit of work going on downstairs. And I went out looking like a dog's breakfast, man. Like I got a hoodie. I'm growing, so I decided I'm gonna keep trying to grow. And I think I was wearing my Ray Morneau hoodie, either that or Brighton Speedway. I'm all covered up. Get into the store, get what we need, get out. Someone looks at me as I'm walking up the aisle. And I just carry on because I don't really want to be seen. I don't want to have conversations. I want to get in, get out, get home, get back on the couch. This fella, I see him again about 30 seconds later, says, "Are you Adam?" And so this was Thursday. I said, yeah, that's me. I missed you on the show Tuesday night. And Clint, you know me. I love talking to people. Like it's what I do. Like, that's sweet. And I was so appreciative. I thought it was so cool that this person watches. He's from Guelph. So hello. I didn't even ask your name, and I feel like an idiot for doing that. But I felt so bad that I was out and about. It was just a quick pleasantry, but it was kind of cool to be recognized. Obviously I don't look very good on camera because I looked awful in person, and I got recognized. But it was nice to meet somebody, and um, I
I
always
couldn't
enjoy that
believe
kind of stuff.
how many people came up to us throughout the summer when we're setting up for G-Force or tearing down and just saying, "Hey man, we love what you guys do." And it's not just it's so cool to know everybody's watching, and we definitely appreciate it. Let's jump into some Chili Bowl talk, Adam. We got a lot of topics to cover, a week long of events. I mean, we can normally pick 5 or 6 things to complain about from any particular event, never mind one that went on. Amazing overall event. The racing's badass. The number of entries, like there's so many positives. So I think we should preface this by saying we're going to pick on the nitty gritties here. Overall, it's an amazing event. But the other attitude we heard to some of the negativity is you're getting racing in the winter. It's indoors. As racers, we should just shut up and be appreciative of it. But I venture for more. I want more. We've got the ability to be better. We need to be better, especially when we have the biggest stage. So first off, we were both throwing topics around through the week. Let's jump into some of the things we had decided to talk about. First off is the Chili Bowl grassroots. You hear a lot of that grassroots talk. You've got major teams. You've got the best from every discipline, plus the midget regulars. Is it a grassroots situation still, Adam?
It's both. It's elite, upper echelon of the sport based on who competes in it, based on the prestige. But I say it's still grassroots. You got a guy like Brian Dunlap. I love how big a deal Flow Racing makes of Brian Dunlap. He gets a lot of airtime. He's so easy to spot in the crowd when he comes down the ramp and stands where he does. But here's a guy who comes from humble means, but fabricates parts. He's I don't want to say ingenious. That's quick. But his ingenuity is impressive, fabricating parts to make these cars a little bit quicker, a little bit quicker. To me, when someone can haul to Tulsa and be in the same conversation, I'm not saying his equipment is as good as Keith Kunz, but Casey Schumann can run with him. Gary Taylor can run with him, right? It's good stuff. So in that sense, I think the Chili Bowl is grassroots.
Yeah, let's not forget, though, that Brian Dunlap is a major motorsports media producer. And we all know that kissing a little bit of BD butt could get you somewhere down the line. I mean, when I worked for Speed TV, my first jobs were hired from Brian Dunlap. So, I mean, that's why they're getting the media guys. We'd be greasing them up, too. But you're right, Adam. Him and his dad have a great, um, shade tree operation, if you can call it that. I've never seen their shop, but compared to everything else, they're bringing 2 cars. Him and his dad start building. They try every year to improve their piece. You've also got some amazing stories. Some young kids come through this deal, get to really show off. I mean, let's just run through some of the topics that I got notes on. You can feel free to jump in. I mean, Sammy's run, someone commented on here, was that penalty warranted. Did you see the call, Adam? Do you know the one I'm talking about? It would have been on Sammy's prelim night to get the last qualified spot, and to me, it looked like a pretty damn good poke in the ass. I think a guy of Sammy's caliber probably could have not run through the guy as he did there. Your thoughts?
Now, that's tradition. That's, we talk about Tony Stewart and the Rumble at Fort Wayne. He is notorious for just hammering everybody out of the way. Slamming Sammy Swindell, we've seen it hammering people out of the way. But we talk about it all the time. Matt Ward was consistent with his calls and made them all week long, like it or not. And who was the other one? Ricky Gaunt, another older fella. And this is the one area where I thought the Flow commentators missed the boat a little bit, because they were talking about, well, it didn't seem intentional. Intent has very little to do with whether you get put to the back or not. And I hate that the first thing I said about the Flow commentators was negative, because I thought they did such a good job. I argued with Bob Miller about it on his Facebook last week. He was concerned that the announcers seemed so young. None of them had a real commanding voice. But that team, man, they were solid. Their passion, their knowledge, their understanding of the event, I couldn't have been more impressed.
I'll take it back to a couple of things where I see it. I thought they were knowledgeable. They weren't annoying. And and normally when you listen to somebody, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, I mean, I've heard a few comments, people talking shit about us. I mean, after you listen to us for 6 hours a day, you just had enough of the Adam, Clint, and Greg show. I get it. But I felt like I could listen to those guys all night long. I thought it akin to almost the Super Dirt Week glory days, where you had a mix of good announcers and everybody kind of knew something about somebody in every race, So there wasn't just like a Wisconsin guy who knew all the Wisconsin guys and just blew smoke up their ass. It was kind of really mixed in, and exactly as I said, I think everybody kind of knew a piece about somebody in every race or in every event, and I thought it was super well covered. While we're on it, let's talk about the Hanover. So Flo does an amazing event. There's some other issues with Flo we didn't like. I mean, Spencer, our producer, would have bought in, but they make you buy a year in advance. I mean, that's just, I don't know. I think, they hooked us in. I mean, I paid my money, but I wasn't happy about it. I felt I got stiffed big time on it. And I would even be happy. I mean, I don't expect to pay $13.99 or $15 a month. Make me pay $59 for the Chili Bowl week or the Chili Bowl month. And, I'd be into that more than half being forced to $190 pay for it. Now, I will probably use it. With that being said, all the programming, I mean, we're going to be on it this year with the Pinty series. So that's cool. Lots of cool stuff.
I enjoy what Flow brings to the table. I'm a big fan. I've been a subscriber for a while. I get it. But what would a preliminary night at the Chili Bowl be worth to you to watch?
I'm a shitty customer. I don't want to pay. I just don't.
I think any one of those nights is worth $25. So
sure, but I'm not going to pay $150. But I get what you're saying over the course of the week, right?
6 nights of racing at $25 a night, you've paid for your whole year. I mean, again, who are we to say? We're the ones that preach giving the stream.
Yeah, let's talk about before we jump into stuff with Chaz here for a minute. Let's talk about the broadcast from. Well, let's bring Chaz in because he might have some thoughts on this too. The Chaz is with us again from a few weeks back. Chaz, welcome back. Where are you situated today, sir?
We are on the road up in Iowa. Got to check in with the girlfriend every now and then. Can't be on the road forever. But you just brought up one of the hot topics of kind of social media wise. That was the hot topic, was this whole broadcast from Flow to Mav TV. I was there personally, so I didn't get to see it. But from the sounds of it, it sounded like Mav TV dropped the ball. I almost want to say kind of as always, drop the ball on presentation and drop the ball on streaming. I mean, they put all that money into starting a TV service, and then streaming comes along and they're behind the 8 ball in it.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Go ahead, Adam.
I want to explain. We had 2 issues going on, and I'm going to tell you why it doesn't matter. And Chaz, feel free to disagree with me. Clint, you as well. The broadcast comes on at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's what time Mav is coming on. It's a hard time because it's television. It's not a stream. So I get that. Clinton, you and I, we deal with productions all the time. You got to start at 8:30. You got to open strong and keep people entertained. The Chili Bowl supersedes a TV schedule. And what I mean when I say that, they could have rushed the show. We in the Northeast, we saw Glenn Donnelly do crazy things to make TV times. I give the Chili Bowl credit for not bowing down to television, knowing they had to work that racetrack. And if it took time, it took time. And sure enough, it did. It took like an hour. So it leaves MAV TV with egg on its face. But I still say the Chili Bowl is a big enough event that the track being right took precedent over TV times.
Now, I mean, you could say that, but at the same time, I mean, I used to do some stuff in TV. When they say they're going to have Chili Bowl for this set amount of time, there has to be that downtime because they've already pre-sold the advertisement slots. So this is kind of all about money. They had to have those downtimes because, once again, I mean, when you sign contracts to have your spot during the Chili Bowl, you have to have your spot play. So they have to have this. It's almost instituted downtime so that these spots get played, so they don't get sued technically by anybody.
You just normally
contract,
right? You just normally don't want to open with that downtime, and that's what they came on to.
Here's the argument. Okay, so there's so many reasons why a lot of us feel we should have been able to have the option to stick with Flow. They need to work this out. There's a major gap where you have guys that you're invested in all week with, and then they have to hand it over to three guys who step in. I mean, we used to see this at Dirt Week, Adam. We still do. Dave Reef, fabulous announcer, out of his element on pit road at Dirt Week. I don't care what you say. He's talking about stories that he's just trying to swim with the sharks right there. It'd be like us going to do drag racing.
Right.
It's not. The argument there is, you got these. Yes, they're the big name MAV TV guys. I get it, but fix it. You got the biggest event in motorsports. And the same reason I say, your attitude is it's the Chili Bowl. Screw it. Everybody will just wait. That's a shitty ass attitude when you got the biggest event, the biggest stage with the best drivers in the world, all in one place. You turned off 1 million fans here this weekend who might have tuned in to see all this hubbub that we're all going crazy about on our social media, only to be bored out of your mind for 1 hour and 41 minutes between B mains and A mains. That's just shitty planning all the way around. And if the track needed work, I get it. Fix the track. But someone needs to stand up and say, we fucked up. The track is way out of shape. We're sorry we're 1.5 hours off. And we are sorry for wasting everybody's time. We need to be better. You know what I heard from everybody? Oh, this is the way it is. Take it or leave it. It's the Chili Bowl. Suck it up, Buttercup. And that's bullshit.
But this is pre-planned. I hate to see the 5-minute clock running down. You might as well turn the graphic off.
I already told Spencer, forget that.
But put up some advertisements, WeatherTech, because that's what it's all about, damn it. Anyways, the money. Follow the money. I said it last time. Follow the money. But this break that you are talking about from, I believe you're referring to the B main to the A. Is that what you're referring to?
No, we're
big break.
Well, there's
that's what he's referring to, I believe.
The opening of the show and then the break from the B to the A, I'm not crazy about. If they got to work the track, that's one thing. Driver introductions and interviewing drivers during get on with the show. That you had your chance to talk to the drivers.
The break from the B to the A has been going on ever since the Swindells stopped losing. They have ever since that 1 year where the rubber down track was junk. Ever since then, and that's been since the Swindells stopped winning. They've been taking a full track rework break, and it's been about that long every single year. So that shouldn't have been new to some people. Maybe some new timers who just tuned in. We bitch about NASCAR taking too long to put on a show, and then we have 1.5 hours of nothing. I mean, at least NASCAR has laps going around the track, and maybe a pit fight or something.
I would have rather seen them.
It's not good, but that's what they do, because the theory is if they don't rework the entire track, a full track rework, that you're going to get a rubber down situation like you had Swindell era previous. And so that shouldn't have been a shock to anybody that they were going to do that, because I've personally bitched about it because you don't really get the track widened out until about 35 laps in. And that's also why people have been almost forced to buy a Toyota, because if you don't have that Toyota Spike combo, you're not going to keep up with Kyle Larson on a green hooked up ready track, or Christopher Bell or Terrence or whoever which I think that's kind of the biggest story coming out of this was Toyota got taken down for the first time in a long time with the Mopar Stanton motor that the Rambo team had. So, I mean, but that
Chaz, from
track
the
rework
inside,
has always happened.
But
from
hold
the
on now,
inside,
Adam. I'm still saying the B main
okay.
to the A main. I get if it's going to be an hour and a half. We understand that. I mean, I manage a dirt track. It is what it is. I can accept that. But the television people with MAV TV's budget need to do a better job of packaging that 1 hour and 40 minutes instead of going back to bullshit. I mean, I was at a packed house party. I left it. I drove all the way
That's
home,
right,
and they were
yeah.
still screwing around for a while. And I'm like, I went to bed. I didn't give a shit after that. And I waited all week. I was totally immersed. I was so angry by then, just the way the whole thing was handled. It turned me off. And just to finish, Albers, he says the biggest event in motorsports. Obviously, it's not the biggest event in motorsports, but from
It
October
is to a lot of
till
people. It is
March,
to a lot of
yeah,
people.
when is it? Not, Sorry,
I
I
mean,
just want to clarify that.
I mean,
No,
Kyle
and
Larson
that's
says
fair.
it's bigger than the Daytona 500, Indy 500. I mean, there's a lot of people who would say that's the biggest race in motorsports. So that's not
More
an
entries
the
than
most
outlandish
anything you're ever
claim.
going to see.
Yeah, it's the most important to a lot of drivers. But Chaz, from the inside, how big a deal is it that Tanner Thorson won this race? How big a deal for grassroots weekly racing all across this country?
Well, I think it's a really big deal just for the fact that Tanner Thorson is kind of that outside, kind of, one of the characters we kind of got in the sport. I made a video or a music song and video called Birdman. You can actually go listening to it everywhere. It's on YouTube. But and that's from earlier in the year when he didn't write rear CJ Leary in a USAC sprint car race, but it was close. And then they had the whole middle fingers in victory lane. So this is kind of he's kind of the attitude driver of the open wheel world. And for him to, get into a team, obviously has great equipment, but at the same time, they were not that, cookie cutter TRD team. They weren't the guys with the Toyota. I think that is honestly the bigger deal here. I mean, Tanner Thorson, the character, taking down these names that NASCAR people had locked in, and all these, worship people had locked in either Bell or Larson. It's like before the week started, Bell or Larson is going to win the race when you got at least 45, car driver combos that had a shot at that. But Tanner Thorson, like I said, he's kind of that, gunslinging type attitude. If he's got a chance, he's going to throw the slider. And like you said, good for the grassroots guy, because he's one of these guys that I always say, everybody gets mad at me for talking about the Larson and Bell had the money, had the opportunity, whatever. But I mean, Tanner Thorson is one of those guys who did the Kyle Larson route. I said Larson and Bell have sold so many 300,000 a year Keith Coon midget rides. It's unreal, because these little kids think that that's how they get to NASCAR. So they rent out the midget to hopefully go to trucks and then if you go in the midget, you do real well, you get drafted into a truck. Well, that's just not what happened, because Tanner Thorson and another guy named Spencer Baston kind of did the same thing that Larson and Bell did. They went and got a Keith Coons midget, kicked ass, and then they kind of got, from my understanding, the Thorson situation, he got all kind of just basically smear campaign. So there's a lot of guys who are good on a Thorson level that are just left behind because they didn't have the $5 million to go and rent out a real good truck, or the $1.25 million to go rent out an ARCA ride. I was talking with a guy from Heads Up Toyota's development. I was like, here's the money. There's no arguments here. So it's not only good for the local guy, it's also good for the guys out there who have rented those Keith Coon midget rides or done the same things that these Larson and Bells that NASCAR and everyone favors and idolizes. This is one of those guys who did the same thing, but didn't have the extra money or investment like a Larson or Bell did have, but can still later on down the road kick his ass on a grand stage like the Chili Bowl.
All right, Chaz, couple things. We swept our rundown, so on the right side there, you'll see it. A few more topics we want to get through with you. How about the Buck Walter run? Adam mentioned earlier today to me, the car was junk, shouldn't even been out there. Adam, you set this one up, and then Chaz can reply. We also want to talk about Kaylee's run and girl power kicking ass.
Yeah, Buck Walter.
And Chaz,
go ahead.
I've never been back in the pits. I've only seen what they show on the camera at the Chili Bowl. And hats off to Flo, Buck Walter destroyed that car. A lot of teams would have loaded up, gone home. For them to capture the thrashing, I was inspired. I got goosebumps thinking about it now, that Steve Buckwalter strapped himself into a car that would just as likely have fallen apart when he fired it up, and he went out and drove the piss out of that thing. How much of that do you see in the pits of the Chili Bowl, where people from different teams coming together to get their competitors back on the track?
I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, you see it on the World Outlaw Sprint Car Series all the time. I think it was good that Flo did capture that, not this year's, but last year's Chili Bowl. Steve Buckwalter on his qualifying night, I was actually hanging out with him and Kevin Woody, because Kevin Woody, somebody I, randomly ran into and became buddies with. But he actually had a bolt break on his fan of his motor last year. And I went live back in the pits and covered it myself and had 400 viewers because Flo was too busy, doing an interview with Buddy Kofoid. So I guess they made up for their mistake this year. They're like, oh, Buckwalter messed up. We don't want to lose these views that Chaz got last year. So it was good to see him finally give a little team, because the cameras usually do stay up near the front of the building where the $15,000 renter rides are. And the up and comers. But yeah, the Buckwalter crew, those are cars he's built himself, those elite midget chassis. He builds them, he does them. His crew knows what they're doing. And then, of course, he had a really good run going for someone who's kind of a regional driver. I mean, this is somebody who's in the PA sprint car scene weekly, and is always doing as much as he can. Did a lot in the ARDC ranks up there. So for a lot of guys to jump in there and help out, there's some camaraderie back there. I mean, you'll hear it all the time. The Chili Bowl is a week of partying more than racing. And that's definitely, the case as well. But that was a good run. It was a great run for him to bounce back like he did. And then his cousin, Tim Buckwalter, who did well also. It's good to see those regional local guys get some exposure. And speaking of Timmy, I actually did a TikTok video from Waffle House with Tim Buckwalter and Billy V runs the Super
Billy Van Inwagen.
Yes. Yeah, we did a TikTok with him and Kevin Woody, and I was like, they had Miller Lights in Waffle House, and I'm like, this is beautiful. I was like, are you supposed to have a beer in Waffle House? He's like, should be, and then Tim's like, can be, and then I looked around, I was like, oh my god, and then Kevin flashes in, I'm like, oh my god, you're black, and for some reason that video got it's right now it's at 2.5 million views on TikTok. So that was just hilarious to get them out there. But yeah, the Buckwalters, especially Steve, it seems like drama always follows him. Like I said, last year, the motor broke on the front of the motor, or the fan broke on the front of the motor. He was running around the building. He was qualified for the pole of his preliminary night, and nobody gave any attention to it. It's good to see that Flo gave attention to it this year, and that was a good run by him.
Girl power. Let's talk about that, Adam. A big show here for Kaylee to run so well and be the first female ever to win it. I mean, in our neck of the woods in sprint cars, the girls have always done good, so it's no huge story up our way. But a big story on that stage. First off, Adam, and then we'll throw it to Chaz.
Harley White, they've made a big deal of her over the years, and I think she is a quality race car driver. But Kaylee Bryson going from 10th to win a B main, that's not qualifying. That's putting an exclamation mark. And this is a big deal for this to happen on MAV TV. Like, this is where I will say you can hang your hat on a performance like that. I loved her interviews. It wasn't about being a girl. It was about being a racer and doing what you had to do. Chaz?
Yeah, I had my girlfriend there, obviously, and she's from the late model world a little bit. Speaking of late model world, don't want to get off this PA deal. I'm hearing that Lance Deweese is going to debut in a late model on June 6th at Hagerstown, by the way. So there's a little bit of a drop on that news. But she was surprised at how many people were cheering. I was like, well, it's the first time it's ever happened. And I'll second that with the B main. She didn't just qualify in that B main. And these B mains it could have been the A. I mean, logistically, when you get into the B mains at the Chili Bowl, even some of those C mains, those could be the A mains minus a Larson Bell and maybe a Rico. But I mean, she drove for, what was it, 10th to win the B main? It wasn't 10th to 7th to make it, 10th to win. That is extremely impressive. Kate, Bryson is kind of been, if you've kept up with the career, hit and miss. She'll do some of these amazing drives, and then next week, just miss the cushion leading and or something will go wrong. But obviously, to make the A main at the Chili Bowl, a lot of talent, and then not just to get a good heat racing qualifier and do it in the A preliminary night, but to come from 10th in these Bs that are so stacked and win it is extremely impressive.
Awesome, Chaz. We'll throw it to you one last time. Anything else we haven't talked about the Chili Bowl from the inside that maybe we were missing that we didn't see on Flow, Mav, or social media? What's the other story we don't know about?
I mean, I think the biggest story is car quality. And I think, like I said, Mopar is a big deal for Mopar to pick up the win with the Stanton. That's huge to dethrone Toyota. But also, I hate to say it, but Kyle Larson, I mean, did this experimental, or I guess at this point we can confirm this experimental kind of chassis that Paul Silva threw together to try to win the Chili Bowl and be special. Did he overthink himself for the first time? Because it looked like at points that if it was his regular King chassis, or if it was just a spike chassis with the typical combo, Larson would have did a little bit better, because there were times we saw it earlier in the week where that car was just hiking up. They had to work on it throughout the Chili Bowl to get it to where he liked it. And then I saw some live interview from the RC Chili Bowl where he still felt like they didn't have enough to get it done. That's Larson saying that. I think that's the story, kind of emphasizing how important your stuff has to be right in the building. It don't matter how good you are. If you ain't got the car to win, you ain't going to win that Chili Bowl. And if you got the car to win, then you got to worry about 3 or 4 of the guys who have the car to win too. And if you're not, you're outside the 3 or 4 guys like Kyle Larson was.
Right on, Chaz. Where are you off to next? Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
You had no trouble signing in, Chaz? Was there any drama left over from the week before, or is that bygones being bygones?
I mean, there was a lot of people asking, how did I get in here? And, it's like, have they cut your wristband off? I think it was somebody with Flo walked up and said, you get your hall pass, stuff like it was, it was a lot of stuff like that. Luckily, I never saw Emmett Hahn. I think that was my best thing of the week. I ducked in and ducked out, but no, I got in, but it was surprising. I was kind of, worried that first day just because no one really knew. No one had answers on what was going to happen. Yeah. So we got in there. Who knows what's going to happen in Florida now? Because this is the week continues. I mean, they're racing this weekend. I'm not going to be down there this weekend, but 22,000 to win next weekend in late models, and then sprint cars at All Stars in Georgia, and then it kicks off. And I'll tell you what, the most anticipated race I'm looking forward to of all speed weeks is going to be that new Extreme Outlaw Sprint Car Series, the non-wing 410s at Volusia, with the late models and the big block modifieds. That is just going to be, and a lot of people have like, whoa, what, that's happening? Yeah, that's happening. That's the first race for that new World of Outlaw non-wing series, and it's paired up with the Super Dirt Car Series and late models. So that's what I'm looking forward to in Florida, the most anticipated race, personally.
Right on, Chaz. We appreciate you stopping by. As always, we are going to keep tapping on your phone, buddy. So you stay safe wherever you're headed next, and we'll be in touch.
We'll try.
Quickly,
safe,
put them back on. Where can our viewers get in touch with your stuff, Chaz, if they want to look up more of
the stuff? It's going to be on mainly YouTube, Facebook, of course, Long Live the Chaz, but YouTube as well, the Chaz, Long Live the Chaz. It'll be a picture of me in my racing suit. I got some stuff in the works with some new apparel. I got this new beanie hat on, longlivethechaz.com. You can get a couple of those. I will be running a 4-banger at Bristol Motor Speedway at the Bristol Dirt Nationals, and we might be starting a debate show. I tossed it up to y'all, Adam, but I'm thinking me and Kenny Wallace might be starting our own debate show. I'm in the beginning talks right now, but I could only imagine me and Kenny getting mad over some NASCAR topics and throwing some pins and spilling some water. So that could be fun. But
are you a drinker, Chaz?
I socially most of the time. Why is that?
Because I would promote a show called After 6 Beers with Chaz. I don't know why you talking about Kenny Wallace made me think it'd be even better if they were in the sauce.
Oh God. I'm telling you right now, I think it would be entertaining. I think motorsports needs a debate show. There's not a lot of people doing it, And it takes a lot of, gumpture to say what you think on camera. And you almost have to have a little either status to get away with it or just willing to not have any sponsors like me to get away with it. But you gotta, it's the six beers with Chaz that could be intoxicating. Is that the best word to use for that?
Nice. Well
That's the
done, man.
perfect segue
Good,
closer.
good to see you,
Thanks,
man. Be
guys.
good.
Thank you.
The Chaz, everybody. Always polarizing. Great guy. Glad to have him with us and some great comments. So we appreciate you. Go check out his social media. As he mentioned, check him out on YouTube. Always good to have him with us.
So
Um,
this would be a good segue, Clint, talking about, because there has always been a faction of people in racing media who do and say what a promoter wants them to do and say. And I almost think the article that you and I were talking about today with Steve Evans is along
Yep.
those same lines. It's a well articulated story. It's a well thought out story, but it just misses the mark. To me, it misses the mark entirely, but I'll bet you it endeared that writer to promoters who let her into the races for free every week.
Throw it up, Spencer. This was an article that came out today. I saw it on social media when Stephen Ovens said he was actually screaming out loud at his digital copy of the area auto racing news that came out today. This Emily Winslow's the final lap column, and in it she talks about how streaming is not the answer and how it is bad. Here's one quote from it. On the flip side, there are many local sponsors that don't see a value or the need for their brand to be broadcast across the country. It's almost comical to read. And are looking for a return on their investment of people through the doors of their local establishment. The teams also see more of a kickback from fans in the stands in the form of purse money. If I was a betting person, I bet that if a person at the track spends $1, a higher percentage of that dollar goes to the purse than $1 spent on streaming service. I'd like to say, all the money goes in the same pot at the end of the day, but
that statement is absolutely false, because when people buy a stream, most of the pay-per-view setups, Clinton, are a profit share. So that profit goes directly to the promoter's pocket. $1 spent at the concession, you might be subbing out that concession to Joe Blow's Poutine Shack.
You're right.
Good for Joe Blow, who's taking that dollar, but that doesn't do anything for the racer. So that's why I say it's a well-crafted article, but not everything was thought out fully. And it's not just us standing up for streaming. It's get your head out of your ass.
Okay, so she says, I'm going to share an unpopular opinion. I'd be all for local blackouts on streaming services for live productions. So say you live within a 30-mile radius of a track, you would not be able to access the live events from that track via streaming. You could watch a replay, but not the live race. The major sport leagues do it. I don't know any of the leagues in our area. I haven't seen a blackout. I mean, I used to live next door to Iverwood Stadium, and the Ticats need to sell more tickets than anybody, and they don't even black out their games anymore, as far as I know. It just doesn't work.
Why? No,
it doesn't
sell
work.
that. Stay on that. It
You
doesn't
need the
work
exposure.
because they made a TV deal to where they get income from TSN. That's why, and that's entirely our point. Stop blacking it out because the TV network wants the viewers, right? It's eyeballs on the sport. So I'm not picking on Emily per se, but she wrote a story. She put a bunch of things in writing, and
look, Adam, you and I are in negotiations right now about. It comes up every year, and all our entities about pay-per-view versus free, right? And it just hit me like a brick, and I said to you today, take any major sports property, let's say. Any major sports team, the Buffalo Bills, Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal Canadiens. Can you imagine any of them getting the New York Yankees? Could you imagine them getting as big as they are in the world if the owners stood up and stomped their feet and said, the only way you get to see my product is by coming through my door? It's the only way. You wouldn't have these, it's ridiculous.
We had a meeting last week, Clinton, where we had to talk openly and candidly about what the prospects are moving forward. But everybody in that meeting agreed attendance last year was way up. Not way up from 2020, way up from many previous years, year over year. The crowds were robust and streaming was free. So one does not, and granted, there's got to be shifts, there's got to be moments where things level out, but there is no data to support that live broadcasts, be it Rogers TV at Delaware, or live streams, take away from the crowd. Doesn't.
The other thing I wanted to say about it is if you run a crappy program, people aren't going to go to it anyways. So if you want to get these people to come out, run a solid program with your live stream. People will see that you're not wasting their time. That's the problem. If you run a shitty track and run a crappy program and waste everybody's time, we know this when we're trying to carry a long caution in any race. It seems like forever. And all of those small pauses are impregnated to be huge, and they blossom into a lot of dead air. And I think it's just, I know we tout this every week, but it seems like another article or somebody else in social media or the public comes out and tells why streaming is not the answer. And we have to keep waving that flag to say, yes, it is, because our sport needs those eyes. And I think Bob Miller commented on it perfectly on one of his comments I saw today. He said, look, I may not go to any of these places, but I know Johnny's Salami Shack is near the racetrack because I hear it every week on the stream. So when I finally get to go to that track, I want to go eat some salami that night. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we're talking about, where you've got to go out and you've got to, you become a destination. And I mean, look at you and I, for example. We go to solidly in the summer through our work. And even when we're not, I mean, you go to Flamborough when we're on an off night. I go to Merrittville. It happens every week. We are legit at racetracks 3 nights a week for 6 months of the year. We still watch every frickin' stream we can see on every night where possible. So it's not like, we still go to the track, but we still want more. Ours. Well, I watch
other.
You don't.
I watch
you
other
don't
streams. I don't watch ours. No, I love ours. Still, I just can't watch. But yeah,
we already lived it, though. I get it. But when you look at, I still think you and I, we do as much as we can physically do, but I still want to see what's going on at other places.
Yes. So that
and
brings
Richard Hadler
us to
says he blames us and G-Force TV for having to go to the Burger Barn, and that's perfectly why we do this.
He's not going to regret it. And that brings us to announcers and team sponsors. More conversations that we saw online. And again, it's people paying lip service. By announcers having these conversations. Oh, I try to list 3 or 4 of a team sponsors when you introduce a driver. Let me tell you, when you're rattling through drivers, and I'm going to pick on Johnny Gibson here, Clint, because you can almost sing along to the way he introduces the stars of the World of Outlaws, but the sponsors get lost in there because it rattles off like a machine gun in a shopping list. I rather talk about sponsors, right? So you tie them in, you try to tell stories throughout the night. If you go through a list of 24 starters and reel off 4 sponsors from each one, all you've done is puked out a grocery list and you really haven't engaged any of them.
No, and I think you're right. That brings us back to the question I posted in our notes. Is it our job to promote the team sponsors, or is it the team's job to promote the sponsors? Now I'll take it back to pro sports. I realize it's a different entity, but there's sponsors on like the helmets of the Maple Leafs. You don't hear them saying, hey, here in the Scotiabank 26, it's so-and-so. You know what I mean? That's just not how it works. Now, I realize it's a whole different entity, but when you look at how we are at them, I mean, I think it's the team's job to, and as I thought about this more, there's almost teams that have made a branding out of their sponsors, and it works. Like Burger Barn team is a good example of that. It's almost a look, an image. It's easy for us to play off of. And they do a good job of promoting themselves, which makes it easy for us to help them do that job. Now, if you're a street stock guy and you have a handwritten little thing on the back of your quarter panel like that, and just because you put it on a sheet, you're not doing Johnny's Service Center the proper due. Why is it our job? And I mean, I realize I got my prickish hat on right now, But I'm with you. We are there to tell the story, and your sponsor should somehow roll into that story. And you've said it many times.
Yeah.
We get better off. We love it when someone says, hey, my sponsors are here for the first time, or hey, my sponsors message at the cottage, they're going to be watching tonight, and say hi to Sue and Bob for me. They'll get a kick out of it. We do those things all the time. So it's your job to let us know, hey, I got this guy coming, or that guy's going to be watching, and we will do our best to get it out there. But I think I've never felt in my 25 years that it was my duty to hit everybody's sponsor every time. If it's clear on your car and it rolls off my tongue, it's going, you know?
I don't know when it became a practice for an announcer to say, who would you like to thank? I don't.
That's terrible.
In
I do it a lot.
And so do I, and so does Greg. And I don't know when it happened, because I will give Flo credit. You didn't hear that at all week long. Most drivers were very good at bringing in some sponsors. There were one or two that would say, I'd like to thank my sponsors on the car. I kind of smack myself in the head, but it shouldn't be like it's a habit we need to kick, because it's an automatic tune out. As soon as you ask that question, I'm tuned out on the answer, because there's no entertainment value. But if you can tie it in, oh my God, I've been waiting this long to win. I'm going for a milkshake at McDonald's of Brantford. They've been supporting me this year. That's where we're going to be about 1:00 this morning.
And then you and Greg will jump in about how we all want it'd be great, right? But here's the thought, Adam. So to answer that, you're absolutely right. I think when we started doing G-Force and started doing streams, you get through these guys who have their first win and they've done everything and they're kind of done. And then I have that problem. I come back to them and say, hey, who do you want to thank? Because I know they're going to kick themselves when they watch this later, because they finally got their chance and didn't do it. Now, I would like to say right now, no more doing that. So everybody watching this show, hit your sponsors, because we're not going to prompt you anymore. I'm cool with that. The other thing that really gets me is when veteran drivers turn around and start reading this stuff off their cars. We're trying to do it for TV, and they got their back down to the camera, and they're trying to rhyme it all up. If it don't come to your head off the top, you don't get to do that.
Well, and spoiler alert, folks. You ever wonder what gets said to a driver just before they let him out of the car in NASCAR victory lane? Don't forget, throw in there that you were faster than Xfinity Internet. Don't forget Camping World Truck Series. You got to throw that out. Don't forget, you got to thank the best fans in the world for being here. They feed them a line or two before they get out of the car, because it is an excitable moment, but they know that that's what they need to happen. So it needs to seem authentic. So after that person is in the window given those instructions, they'll back away. Confetti starts to fly. The driver gets out. 9 times out of 10, they're professionals, so they will remember what it is they're supposed to say, and they get that result. They get what they need out of that moment.
Yeah, I think you're right on there. So teams, let us know who we got to promote on certain weeks for you. Remember who your sponsors are. Thank them yourself, because you're getting no more prompts from us. Let's switch gears. We'll bring in Terry Vince from Humberstone Speedway, a regular guest here on the program. We've gone over lots of things over the past few months here and year with Terry. Terry, I got talking to you this week, and we were discussing payouts, and I said, Adam asked me, why are we raising payouts? So you had some great answers on it. So I figured I'd bring in Terry. Why are you raising payouts at Humberstone, and why is the trend heading that way? Their support divisions are going to get paid better than they ever have in the past.
Well, I think that nice to be on the show, guys. And I think that hi, Adam. And I think that with the cost of everything right now, I spent the last couple of days just pondering this more and more. And with the cost of tires, you can't put tires on these Thunder stocks or street stocks for under $200 right now. So it's $200 for an American racer and around $220 for a Hoosier to bolt them on the cars. Talked to Todd Gordon from Concept One. You can't get a chassis built for less than $6,000 to $7,000 right now. And that's a frame and body. So just with the complications of getting parts for these cars and how much it's costing these guys to compete, if we don't make a move, I think that they're not going to be able to sustain in the immediate future. So anyways, we went from around $300 to win, and I'm going to be paying $600 this year. So it's doubling there. But I think these guys need to throw a bone throw into them a little bit simply because they're not bombers no more. This is not the 6-cylinder days where guys are welding frames and bending pipe and welding it in their garage. Those days are long gone. These they're just a little bit more $25,000-$30,000 race cars right now, so they need to be paid, somewhat accordingly. So this is where we're at.
And Terry, I want the racers to be able to put money in their pocket at the end of the night. My question to Clint was legitimate. It was, where does it come from? How can you justify, where are you going to bring in more money, Terry, so you can pay out more money?
So that's a great question, Adam. So what I've been doing, I've been hard at work. I installed another 17 10x20 billboard signs that face Highway 3 right now. They're going to be lit 365. So I have a massive marketing advertising campaign that I've been doing at the racetrack. It started last year with the back of the grandstands and the tower, and it continued that, but I still been hustling really good divisional sponsors and using the revenue from the signage, the advertising, the marketing, and also from my divisional sponsors to pour back into my classes in order to pay them accordingly. And I know we have to do something. And without the racers, there's no show, and without no show, there's no fans. And we're going to be, it's not rocket science, but we need to be able to put on a show, and we need the car count to do that. And some of the money being paid out is going to help this trend keep going, and hopefully inspire some of the cars that are sitting in garages to get back out on the racetrack.
I look at from our side, Adam, when I looked at the Arch Weekend payouts pre-COVID, we were $15 to take the green in some of these classes. And that's just damn insulting to the teams for the effort and the show they put on. So not even the win money, which has been doubled in a lot of cases at a few of these tracks, and not just the dirt. I mean, Delaware's come out with some pay increases as well. I see, Sauble came out this week with increasing their payouts on their four. What is it for, Adam? Help me out with that. I'm drawing a blank on what for fun division. Sorry, yes. And that's been great. And they increased the bracket. I know John Carly will have to have him on next week to talk about how 0.2 of a second is giving him a shit kicking this week in social. But no, I think Terry, you're right. We the cost of these bodies we talked about, even that, you're not just buying a junkyard body for $200 no more. If you need a new body, you're looking at $800, $1,000 for someone like Concept One to build you a body and make your car look nice again. And it's kind of like a limited late model almost is where we're headed with these cars. So the most popular division though, Terry, right? So it deserves it. We've got 100 cars in this province racing this class.
It's almost insulting to charge them $40 to get in the back gate and pay them $45 to start. I had a real hard time with that even last year. I paid $75 to take the green on every street stock race or thunder stock race. So I think that's what it needs to be. Like it's not supposed to be a money-making prospect. You're not supposed to make money at this sport, but it can't be upside down where the guys are at that much of a loss every time they push the button and press start in the race car. So trying my best to get the payoff better than what it was. And with the right people behind me right now that I have sponsoring this division, and even it's going to be minimum 1,000 in cash to win the street stock points for this year for 2022. So I got enough revenue coming in to put into the points fund, and some great things happening with that. And and just looking forward to the season. And I think the street stock or the thunder stock class puts on fantastic racing out there. It's one of my best races I like to watch out there. And the other thing too, talked about this too, Clint, when I cruise around on a golf cart in the pits and you talk to guys like Sargent and you talk to guys like Fontaine and other veterans, they have no interest of doing anything different. So if it wasn't for the street stock division, they're done. They're buying a boat or they're buying a cottage or they're going north. Yep. They're not racing. They have no interest in open wheel racing, late models or nothing. So I guess we just have to make a move and just throw them a bone, and hopefully that they'll be able to sustain.
Terry, let's talk about quickly. The schools are coming up, and I know you have another big announcement you want to announce about some more stuff coming up at the track. Quickly, let's look at the flyers for the school. How has been the school response been so far with both the Modified Sportsman and the Sprint Car School the following week? Show them, Spence.
Good. Yep, there's for the Modified Sportsman one, we have 13 right now that are officially registered for that. And so that's going good. It's still early, and I got a few messages, guys like wanting to book, and they're like concerned that their engines are not going to be ready on time. So again, this is a big part, the shortage in parts and stuff like that. So I understand some of the concern there. The sprint car, great response for that. There's about 15 that are already booked for that one. And I think 1 or 2 teams that want to stay for both days just to get their track time and get as much out of the school as possible, which is fantastic too as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing, Terry. You're going to be fairly flexible and give these guys as much track time as they can, which is also a huge part, not to mention all the technical education going on those days. Quickly, let's talk about what's the next thing you want to reveal tonight. I think you got some divisional news for us.
Yes, for sure. Today, officially, I'm just working on the press release right now. S&W Service is going to be the divisional sponsor for the 358 Modifieds, which is fantastic. Wayne Kahn is a longtime supporter of Niagara Dirt Track Racing and modified racing in Niagara region, and he's a longtime customer of mine in the engine game. So he's been buying engines off me for, I can't even think, a long time. So it's good to have him on board as a supporter in the modified division. This is going to enable me to pay $2,000 to win every night. Is going to be the standard payoff for the 358 Modifieds in 2022 with $250 to take the green. And this still enables me to be able to have enough money in the points fund. It's going to be $2,500 to win the points for the 358 Modifieds for 11 races, which is pretty good. And finally, I guess the one I want to mention too as well is Rick's Delivery was the divisional sponsor for next year. So I had a good conversation with Rick today and moved him over. He's going to be sponsoring the Labor Day shootout for the 358 Modifieds. So I'm going to have twin 25s that night and $1,500 to win each feature. And Rick has also contributed a little bit of extra financing into the points fund to make that all possible to pay all the way back the top 10. So it's exciting news.
Awesome,
hard work pays off, Terry.
Yep.
Are you feeling the burn yet, Terry? It's been good, but I know from that side, it's rewarding when you can get these deals done, and something to be proud of for sure. So we appreciate you coming on the show and letting us know, and we'll definitely be talking to you in the coming weeks as we get closer to all that stuff, and we'll be talking more and more about the ODCC engine rollout, which is coming out this week as well.
Awesome.
All right, thanks, Terry.
Hey,
Terry Vince from Humberstone Speedway.
That's a good one, Terry.
Wow, Adam, what a whirlwind show it's been. We're already an hour in. We're going to be about maybe 10 minutes over. We got 2 more topics to get through, and then we're going to jump into the Garrett Teamersma. Vlog number 5. Wow, what a great job he's been doing, taking us inside his Quick Superstock team and the offseason. Hopefully you're enjoying that. And I know Garrett's going to find himself with a whole bunch more fans when we go back to the track because of it.
And that's not just lip service, Clinton. He's done a really good job. He has stayed on. And our concern, I don't think it's a big secret, was, look, if we get into something, if we create a relationship, is he going to follow through? Like, are we going to, sure, maybe do one video? Is he going to keep on going with the series? Garrett's done an amazing job. So I hope people appreciate the work that he's put into it and the value of a behind-the-scenes look, because it's not something that everyone is used to.
Yeah, and he came to us in the summer and said, hey, guys, how can I increase my profile? How can I get involved with you guys? What do you need me to do? And we said, hey, some behind-the-scene videos, some insider stuff would be fantastic. And he's come through. So stick around. We'll be watching that in about 10 minutes time or less now. Tom's Trailer Repairs, want to send a shout out to Tommy Beals and all he does. As we showed on last week's show, Tom's got a trailer business. It's the perfect time to get out and get your trailer serviced, whether it's a boat and marine or RV, car haulers, dump trailers, utility trailers. Give them a call. They can service your trailer axles, whether it be single, dual, or tri-axle. They can also do complete brake systems, complete wiring, and wheel bearing replacement if needed. Get a hold of Tom at 905-933-9220. And look him up on Facebook, Tom's Trailer Maintenance and Part Sales. So Tommy Beals, and another good guy in the sport. You can also email him at tombeals1@hotmail.com. So good job, Tommy, keeping everybody safe. Adam, that's a topic we always talk about. I mean, we showed last year how some of the toe balls were faulty. And, it's one of those things. Getting to the track is just important as, probably more important. Because when you're at the track, you're all right. But you don't want to lose your stuff in a ditch on the way down the line. Yeah, Wes Shaw asked about our weekend schedule. It is in the bucket to be released here in the next day or so. We finally got it all finalized, just getting the release out, and you should see that here shortly. Let's jump into our Burger Barn video of the week. Burger Barn, always a great spot to go have lunch or dinner. Always great supporters, and if you haven't eaten at the world-famous Burger Barn on 4th Line in 6 Nations, go check it out. When you're there, don't forget Petro Plus travel stop is also right there for all your gas and petro needs. Here's a cool video, Adam. This is snowmobile racing on the ice, and I just thought this was cool. We've seen a lot of cool stuff this week, and maybe Spencer has the cone video too. We can look at this. We talked about
We
it
got
in
to
our
show
thing.
the cone.
So there were a couple of times in this past week, Adam, when we saw, and not just this week in general, where the folks involved in putting the show on, be the officials, the volunteers, the people that help out, are getting in the spirit of putting on the show, and it's cool. So first off, the snowmobile video, and then we'll go to the cone who got pummeled race after race at the Chili Bowl. Check out this snowmobile video. This one might make the London Rec guys smile.
Front shoot, checkered flag, flick, one more shot, drag race to the line. Who's it gonna be to the inside? Can't quite get there in time.
That's
Leonard
not what we're
Johnson
watching.
hangs on for the win.
Here it comes.
Rider off on the front straightaway. Look at that. Rico's
Watch
gonna
it.
snag him, get him drug off to the
Get
side.
out of here.
Look at that. Just a little toss. Oh my goodness gracious. Rico is the man.
The kid just
Not
flies
only
there.
did he catch the child, he threw the child to safety. If that's not a flow racing highlight, there isn't one.
My goodness. Somebody get that man a cape.
He's
That was
putting
cool.
out fires. He's catching
And let's jump over the Chili Bowl where the cone got hit again and they had to give it CPR.
CPR. Get a defibrillator. Oh, he's got it. Life-saving
And I mean-
emergency treatment to Spike, and he's back. All right.
On the Turn the Bull pink night, they even had a pink rope for the cone. And these people don't have to do this, Clinton. One's job is to wave flags, and other one's job is to pull the cone in after the start. And it could be the fumes talking, but I just think good for them. I mean, it's cute. And the officials aren't the only one getting in on the show. How about the Turn 2 rowdies?
Yeah, that's one thing. Okay, we didn't talk about that too. These guys throwing marshmallows around. You thought it was cute. I think it's a recipe for a punch in the face. The guys I hang out with at the track would tolerate.
Don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in my mouth.
I thought you were okay with it.
I think
So we should tell the
There
people what
needs-
we're talking about.
so. The people sitting at the top of Turn 2, they like causing a ruckus. They're firing marshmallows around the crowd, hitting each other. I mean, if you saw, there was a beach ball being passed around the crowd Saturday that was the size of a Volkswagen. But where it gets serious, so I'm all for people having a good time. Drink if you want to drink, get rowdy if you want to get rowdy. But I'm also for people being able to watch racing. That's what you've come there for. So marshmallows getting thrown around. Someone down near the front of the crowd was getting upset. The only thing the officials said were, marshmallows do not go on the track or people are getting tossed. So from what I gather, this fella's getting hit with marshmallows and he is not enjoying it. So he keeps taking them and tossing them down towards the racetrack so they can't throw them anymore. Well, security comes along and kicks this guy out of the Chili Bowl for putting marshmallows on the racetrack. So, I'm all for people having a great time, but I'm not for celebrating people that are throwing marshmallows. Because in seriousness, Clinton, you know my wife. If my wife got hit in the head with a marshmallow, I'm getting in a fist fight. Not because I want to, but because she's about to make such a big scene that I'm going to have to stand up and get my ass kicked just as a show of good faith.
That's where I'm kind of thinking, when I saw how out of control it was, and people spend their year to go to this Chili Bowl. Like they guys live for this 1 week, and girls too, I should say. And I could just see, I know the guys I hang around with. You hit one of my buddies that I go to race with in the head with a marshmallow, you're going to be politely laughed and asked to stop. And the second time, it might be kind of cute. But the third time, I think we're all getting thrown out of the races. So
You're going to look like a... Yeah.
You got to contain it.
Hey,
if you and your buddies want to throw marshmallows at each other and you can contain it between your buddies, hey, I'll have for it. But when you start interrupting other people's enjoyment of the event, that's when security should be stepping in and saying. And I saw lots of them. I somehow got on a feed with Turn 2 rowdies, and they were like, come to Turn 2, take it or leave it. And I'm thinking, man, you guys just sound like assholes. Sorry.
That's what happens, though, when people egg you on. And they were getting egged on. And like I say, I'm all for it. Have a good time. It's kind of like the ghetto at the state fairgrounds, right? You
Yeah.
don't go in the ghetto and think you're going to a church sermon. You are going to see things that people
But hold
will
on.
have to atone for.
But hold on. If I go online on StubHub or something, or online, and I buy tickets in turn 2 for the Chili Bowl, and I have no idea, never heard about the turn 2 rowdies, I would say that's different than the ghetto. When you go out after dark into the darkness and you see a giant bonfire and couches on fire and thousands of people screaming and yelling, and
Yeah.
you probably know what you're getting yourself into. It's a lot different than buying a ticket for a first class situation, a sporting event.
Yep.
Adam in a
So
fight would be
anyhow,
hilarious to watch. Alvers, I've been waiting 25 years to see Adam in a fight. I even punched him right in the groin once, and he just yelled at me. I tried to bait him in, and it never worked.
I think you kicked me.
No, it was a straight right because it
Was
was
it?
perfect height. It's perfect shoulder height from my punch to your
No,
waist.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to tell you something. And Clint thinks I'm full of shit because I've talked about throwing Connor to the wolves. I've not been in a fight since I was 10 years old. But I understand there's a time and a place, and there's certain things that go down that if someone wants to have at it. We'll talk about the fighting policy at the Chili Bowl next week, Clinton. But there comes a time when certain things happen. If someone wants to stand up for their honor, it's kind of dishonorable not to give them the opportunity. So you got to eat a punch or two, throw a punch or two, and live with the consequences. That's just part of being a grown-up.
I'm just wondering if I should reveal what racer I was hanging with the last time I got a black eye and a broken hand. Because it wasn't my fight, but somehow I come home with a punch in the face too. But
I thought
the things you do for
we
your
were going
buddies.
to get shot. I thought we were going to get shot at Rolling Wheels back in 06 or 07 when you spotted Johnny Scarborough. You and I, Johnny the Jet, I thought, oh my God, this is not going to end well. People already don't like the Canadians that bought Dirt Track Digest, and here you go. Is that Johnny Scarborough? I got a word for him.
Hey, he told us that he was going to break off our Canadian arms and shove them up our pussy asses. So when I seen him, I asked him to do it. And what did he do? Politely left.
He wanted nothing to do. And it wasn't that I was scared again. I'm thinking, okay, here we go. If this is a fight, Clint's my brother. I got his back. Like, I want no part of this.
I remember looking at Rocket Reinhold and going, remind me why we don't like that guy. And he said, oh, he said this, he said that, he said that. I'm like, oh, yeah. So anyways, good time for another day. But I'm not afraid to be punched in the mouth for a good cause. Anyways, let's end on a great note. Garrett Teamersma, vlog number 5, showing us what it takes to get his Quick Super Stock ready. We will have a pavement show extravaganza next week. I don't know what we're going to do, Adam, but it's been dirt heavy lately. We owe it to our blacktoppers to come through with some good content next week. So I'm going to put that to our resident pavement guy, Adam Ross.
Let's
figure out what we can do.
Alex Nagy on. Let's try to get Alex on.
He owes us one.
Yep.
A few times before and everything else. So, hey, appreciate everybody being with us. Stick around. This is Garrett Teamersma, vlog number 5. Thank you, Spence, for everything you do. Thanks to the Chaz for stopping by. Thanks, Terry Vince. Thanks all you fine people for hanging with us on this beautiful Tuesday night, wherever you are. We're only a few months away from racing season, and depending on if you're going to Florida, only a couple weeks. We'll talk to you soon. See you next Tuesday.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for watching the last one. I'm glad you guys all enjoyed it. Today we're back in the garage and we have some new parts to install on the car today. Our interior of the car had a little bit of damage in our last race because of a broken drive shaft, and it kind of beat up the interior right here. So we have to install new pieces today. They're freshly painted fire red. We're gonna see some new tin kit be installed. So let's get into it. Okay, so the majority of the tin kit is all set in place, that everything has been clecoed in. We can permanently fasten it to the chassis with a rivet gun. Okay, so if you can't tell, it's a different days from when we started it, as we had a couple of parts come in that we needed to install before we got to riveting together the tin kit. But today we're gonna get the seat, our brand new containment seat mounted, as well as all of our tin kit that we sized up in the last part of the video. And we're gonna end up finishing mounting our steering, mounting our seat, getting a lot of the interior done today. So let's actually get into it and let's get it done. Okay, our collapsible steering system is installed. New full containment seat is all installed. The rest of the interior tin kit has all been fully installed, riveted in and installed. All our safety upgrades are about ready and done for the interior of the car. And that's gonna be all for this week's video. If you enjoyed the last one, make sure to check out the next one. We'll keep up with us on all of our social media, and we'll see you in the next video.
We'll be right back.